At 55, Richard Rawlings drops a bombshell. The name that once ruled reality TV with Fast and Loud, Richard Rawlings has now left the world stunned.
We all know that feeling, when a TV show you followed faithfully just vanishes without a trace. No finale, no explanation, not even a hint it was ending. One day you're watching, waiting for the next episode, and then nothing. That's exactly what happened with Fast and Loud. After years of fast builds, classic cars, and intense garage drama, the show abruptly ended. Fans were left confused and disappointed, wondering what had gone wrong. Why did a series that had become so beloved just disappear overnight? To understand that, we have to take a closer look at its rise, its success, and the strange silence that followed. Fast and Loud wasn't just a car show. It was a weekly celebration of beating the odds, of taking worn-out, beat-up cars and transforming them into incredible machines. It brought together viewers who loved the raw charm of classic vehicles and the magic of seeing them restored. But just like a sudden crash that comes out of nowhere, the show came to an end, with no heads-up or closure. For longtime fans, the disappearance felt like a gut punch, especially because the show had seemed to be thriving. The sudden end was jarring, and for many, it raised more questions than answers. Much of the show's appeal came from Richard Rawlings. With his signature charm and confidence, Rawlings had the kind of personality that jumped off the screen. Born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas, his passion for cars started early. He was just 14 when he bought his first vehicle. He learned the ropes working on cars with his dad, and even after a brief detour into the printing industry, that love never faded. In 2002, Rawlings made a bold move and sold his printing company so he could launch Gas Monkey Garage in Dallas. It was a risk, but it paid off. The garage eventually became the heart of Fast and Loud, and Rawlings found himself in the spotlight like never before. His journey from businessman to TV personality wasn't just about good timing, it was fueled by genuine passion. Rawlings didn't just open a garage, he created a destination for car lovers. He breathed new life into forgotten vehicles, transforming them into stunning restorations that turned heads. He quickly built a reputation for not just fixing cars, but for upgrading and enhancing them in ways that made them truly special. He wasn't simply restoring vehicles, he was elevating them, making them better than ever. That level of craftsmanship and vision earned him a place in the hearts of viewers and gearheads everywhere. Among his most impressive accomplishments were the iconic cars he helped bring back to life. Standouts like the 1968 Shelby Mustang and the 1977 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. These weren't just museum pieces. They were fully restored and modernized with Rawlings's signature touch. And beyond the garage, his business savvy was undeniable. At one point, he managed to sell 28 of these souped-up vehicles for an astonishing $10 million. That kind of success meant the garage could keep running strong, even when the cameras weren't rolling. But no matter what else he did, it was Fast and Loud that truly put him on the map and made him a fixture in the world of car culture. When the show went off the air, it wasn't just the end of a series, it felt like the end of an era. Richard Rawlings had become so closely associated with the art of car restoration that many fans couldn't imagine the scene without him. Fast and Loud had become a place where people could witness the transformation of forgotten machines into rolling masterpieces, and without it, that excitement felt missing. The show stood for creativity, skill, and a deep love for the garage lifestyle, all of which were embodied by Rawlings himself. Though Rawlings continues to be active with various other projects, the same excitement doesn't seem to follow Gas Monkey Garage the way it once did. The energy that used to pour from every corner of the shop now feels quieter, and the buzz that surrounded the restorations has faded. The thrill of seeing an old classic reborn on TV just doesn't hit the same. And for many, Rawlings was the reason it all felt so alive. His presence, his enthusiasm, and his connection to each car made every episode feel personal. He wasn't just the face of the show, he was the heart of it. As the driving force behind Gas Monkey Garage, Richard was never just there for show. He got his hands dirty, stayed involved in the builds, and pushed each project forward. He didn't hang back or watch from the sidelines. He He was always in the mix, making sure everything matched his vision. That hands-on attitude was a huge part of the show's charm. It showed viewers that this wasn't just a business for him, it was a passion, a craft, and a lifestyle. His commitment was what made the show feel authentic, and that authenticity is what fans miss the most now that Fast and Loud is no longer part of the weekly lineup. In an effort to strengthen his standing in the automotive world and extend his influence beyond the walls of Gas Monkey Garage, Richard Rawlings made a bold and calculated decision. He became a sponsor for renowned motorcycle racer Peter Hickman. This strategic move wasn't just a random sponsorship. It was a clear statement that Rawlings was serious about embedding himself even deeper into the heart of the motor world. It showed that he wasn't content with just dominating the custom car scene. He wanted to have a presence across all corners of automotive culture. But Rawlings' rise to success wasn't just about making smart business moves. The explosion of Fast and Loud onto TV screens across the country was far from accidental. From the very beginning, the show had a unique blend of ingredients that set it up for success. It all started with the growing online chatter surrounding Gas Monkey Garage. The buzz was impossible to ignore, and it quickly caught the attention of producers at the Discovery Channel. They saw more than just a popular local garage. They saw a story worth telling and a charismatic figure in Rawlings who could bring it all to life. Although Gas Monkey Garage wasn't rolling in cash during its early days, one thing was obvious. The craftsmanship happening there was top tier. The quality of the builds, the dramatic transformations of cars that many would have written off as junk, and the vision behind each project made a strong impression on the Discovery producers. They realized Rawlings had a rare gift for turning automotive scrap into sleek, high-dollar masterpieces, and they came to him with an idea, a show that would spotlight those very transformations. For Rawlings, who had a deep-rooted passion for cars, it wasn't a difficult decision. The offer combined everything he loved: restoring old vehicles, entertaining people, and finally gaining the recognition and financial boost he'd long been working toward. Still, even with that passion, Rawlings didn't jump in without reservations. In the early stages, he wasn't completely convinced the show would hold up in the crowded world of reality television. There were already plenty of shows out there trying to catch viewers' attention, and standing out wouldn't be easy. But once Fast and Loud hit the air, any lingering doubts disappeared almost overnight. The show connected with audiences in a big way. The mix of raw garage energy, unpredictable team dynamics, and the thrill of taking a rusted-out vehicle and turning it into something valuable and jaw-droppingly beautiful struck a chord. It wasn't just a hit. It became a trendsetter in the car entertainment genre. More than just another restoration show, Fast and Loud gave viewers an inside look into the fast-paced, high-pressure environment of car flipping. There was always a deadline looming, a challenge to overcome, and a potential profit, or loss, on the line. Watching the crew race against the clock to finish a build before auction day gave each episode an edge of real-life suspense. What really made the series stand out, though, was its fresh take on the idea of spinning cars, not just repairing them, but reimagining them. It was about breathing new life into old, forgotten vehicles, transforming them into sleek, updated machines that looked like they belonged in a showroom. The personal stakes, the emotional roller coaster that came with each project, and the genuine passion of the crew made every episode feel authentic and gripping. One of the most interesting and underappreciated angles of the show was how it shined a light on Rawlings' background, particularly the role his father played in shaping his love for cars. While Rawlings himself became the face of the show, the influence of his dad, though previously overlooked, came into focus as a subtle but important part of the story. The show highlighted that this wasn't just a business venture for Rawlings. It was part of a larger legacy rooted in his upbringing. The connection to his father's expertise and passion added a deeper layer to the show's narrative. From the very beginning, the creators of Fast and Loud knew exactly what they were aiming for. They wanted to pull in millions of viewers, and they succeeded in doing just that. But their vision went beyond ratings. They also wanted to highlight a fascinating corner of the automotive world that many people had never seen up close: car restoration had often been seen as a niche interest, something reserved for gearheads and mechanics. But the show blew those doors wide open, showing a larger audience how much skill, creativity, and heart went into every build. It gave everyday viewers a new appreciation for an art form that had long stayed under the radar. And in doing so, it elevated the entire industry. With its mix of easygoing banter and clever promotion of a lesser-known side of car restoration, Fast and Loud quickly became a worldwide hit, offering viewers a chance to escape into a world that was both entertaining and educational, all set against the gritty, often messy backdrop of Gas Monkey Garage. The show cracked the code for TV success, becoming a must-watch for anyone curious about this unique world of car work and restoration. By the time the show hit its 4th season, it was really in its element. This season felt like a well-scripted drama, with major cast changes adding fresh energy to each episode. Watching it felt like watching a thrilling race against time, as the team worked around the clock to fix up and sell cars for profit, all while trying to avoid debt. Rawlings' decision to invest in a car that seemed destined for financial loss rather than gain added an extra layer of tension to the show, making these risky choices and unpredictable challenges a huge draw for fans, keeping millions hooked in the US. Fast and Loud had big dreams from the start, hoping for endless success. But as time went on, it faced a series of problems that shook the show's foundation. Cast members left one by one, sparking drama and raising questions about what was really going on behind the scenes. The show's storyline started to feel repetitive, and the drama began to seem scripted, leading some viewers to believe it was losing its original charm. Despite these issues, the show still held a large audience, but the eventual decision to pull the plug didn't shock many. The producers had everything they needed to keep the show going for years, but out of nowhere, they made the choice to cancel it, leaving both fans and the people involved in the show stunned. Right at the center of the show's unexpected end was none other than Richard Rawlings, the face, the energy, and the soul of Fast and Loud since it all began. His presence had shaped the series from day one, so when he chose to walk away, it wasn't just another cast member leaving, it was the moment everything changed. His exit wasn't just noticeable, it shook the foundation of the show. For years, Rawlings had been the engine that kept things running, and with him stepping aside, the momentum came to a screeching halt. Fans who had followed the show religiously were left stunned. There were no big announcements, no emotional send-offs, just silence. Viewers were left piecing together what had happened, asking the same question over and over. Why did it all end so suddenly? Not long after the final episode aired, bits and pieces of behind-the-scenes drama started to emerge. It turned out that Rawlings hadn't simply lost interest. He'd been feeling creatively stifled for quite some time. Early on, the excitement came from the freedom to dream up new builds, tackle wild projects, and share his genuine love of cars with the world. But as the seasons went on, the restrictions piled up. Rawlings reportedly grew tired of having to hold back, of not being able to talk openly about certain topics, or share what was really going on behind the garage doors. That creative spark that once fueled him had started to fizzle out. On top of all that, his contract with the Discovery Channel came with tight restrictions, rules that reportedly included financial penalties if he ever criticized the network in public. So while fans hoped for clear answers, Rawlings kept things vague, calling the decision to end the show simply the right one, without diving into the messy details. Still, for those who'd been paying attention, it wasn't hard to read between the lines. There were clear signs that all was not well behind the scenes. Tensions between Rawlings and the show's producers had been brewing, and a string of notable departures from the original team only added fuel to the fire. The dynamic in the garage had shifted. What used to feel like a tight-knit crew started to unravel, and longtime viewers noticed. As familiar faces disappeared, the chemistry that had made the show so addictive began to fade. The sudden absence of key team members like Tom Smith and Jordan Butler hit fans especially hard. These two had brought serious talent and personality to the show, and then, without warning, they were just gone. No real explanation, No farewell episodes. Their departures raised eyebrows and sparked endless theories online. Eventually, the truth began to trickle out. Rawlings had fired them. The specifics were never fully explained, but by the time the news surfaced, the damage had already been done. The air of mystery around their exit only added to the speculation. Fans who were already puzzled by the show's sudden end now had even more to chew on. The drama wasn't just about cars anymore. It had become about clashing egos, unspoken tensions, and a sense that the magic had started to slip away. Rawlings, ever the savvy businessman, seemed to know it was time to move on. Rather than stay stuck in a situation that was draining his creativity, he pivoted. Free from the limitations of TV contracts, he shifted his focus toward new ventures, most notably, his growing presence as a social media influencer, where he had full control over his content and could connect with fans on his own terms. While the engines may have gone quiet at Fast and Loud, the noise around its ending has never really died down. And at the center of it all stands Richard Rawlings, still a major force in the automotive world, even if the cameras aren't rolling anymore. Adding more fuel to the fire, fans were stunned to discover that the very cars hyped on the show, presented as priceless treasures, were showing up on eBay for around $30,000. The contrast between the show's lofty claims and the real-world listings hit hard, spreading quickly online and seriously damaging the credibility of Fast and Loud. Trust began to crumble, as fans felt they were being misled about the value and authenticity of the restorations. Richard Rawlings had always been portrayed as a bold, confident leader, but over time, cracks started to show in his decision-making. It became clear that many of his choices were rushed, made with little input from the team. His impulsiveness was especially evident when it came to choosing cars for restoration, many of which turned out to be rust-ridden wrecks hiding beneath their worn paint. This wasn't a one-time slip-up either. Again and again, Rawlings poured cash into cars that were more rust than metal, some nearly 80% corroded, leaving fans to wonder if he'd lost his touch and was just throwing money away. This pattern of poor judgment likely played a big role in the decision to shut the show down. As the seasons rolled on, Rawlings' confidence in his own mechanical abilities seemed to grow a little too much. He started making sweeping changes to cars, swapping out parts in the hope of making them better, faster, or just different. But things didn't always go as planned. Many of these modifications led to more problems than they solved, causing fresh issues in areas that previously worked just fine. What was supposed to be a simple and affordable fix often turned into a string of repairs that cost a small fortune. These recurring money pits became more common as the series progressed, and it's likely this trail of escalating expenses nudged Rawlings toward stepping back. Tension really boiled over when an entire episode was dedicated to building a replica of Kitty T from Knight Rider for a friend's birthday. With a decent budget behind it, fans expected something impressive, but the episode fell flat. Instead of spotlighting hands-on craftsmanship, the episode leaned heavily on scripted antics, with Rawlings seemingly spending more time sightseeing in Europe than building anything. This episode marked a turning point. It became the perfect example of how far the show had drifted from its roots. What started as a gritty, authentic look at car restoration had become something more polished and theatrical. Viewers couldn't help but feel let down, and many labeled the episode as fake, pointing to it as proof that the show had lost its way. As the series piled on more controversies and viewer disappointment, its end started to feel like less of a surprise and more of an overdue relief. The once beloved show had turned into a performance, with real mechanical artistry taking a back seat to forced drama. For longtime fans, the spark that made Fast and Loud stand out had clearly faded. Now that the cameras have stopped rolling, attention naturally shifts to where the familiar faces from the show have gone. Richard Rawlings, the fearless frontman of the series, doesn't seem too shaken by its conclusion. Instead, he's diving deeper into his true passion, cars, expanding his garage and growing his personal collection, showing that his love for the automotive world is still burning strong, even if the show that made him famous is no longer in the spotlight. Freed from the tight grip of network television, Richard Rawlings is now enjoying a new kind of freedom. With fewer restrictions and more room for creativity, he's been diving headfirst into the digital world, actively showcasing his projects through his growing YouTube channel and Instagram presence. This move has proven to be both personally fulfilling and financially rewarding. Not only has he continued to sell many of his meticulously restored vehicles, but he's also been venturing into acquiring some of the world's rarest and most valuable cars, betting big on the idea that these high-end investments will eventually yield even bigger returns. As Rawlings explores these bold new ventures, it's only natural to turn the spotlight onto the rest of the Fast and Loud crew, many of whom have also charted exciting paths of their own since leaving the show behind. Kaufman, the bearded mechanical wizard who wowed fans with his hands-on brilliance, decided to carve out a fresh direction for himself. His abrupt departure from Gas Monkey Garage back in 2017 caught viewers off guard. With little more than a mention of personal reasons, Kaufman quietly left the show, leaving fans curious about what had really prompted his exit. He wasted no time jumping into a new project of his own, opening up a custom shop in Dallas with a special focus on Ford F-100 trucks, restoring these classic beauties from multiple decades. His post-Gas Monkey work quickly caught the attention of the Discovery Channel once more, earning him his own show, Shifting Gears with Kaufman. Although the show only lasted one season due to low ratings, Kaufman remains upbeat about the experience and has expressed interest in returning to TV if the right opportunity comes along. Meanwhile, Sue, who fans fondly remember as the take-no-nonsense upholstery queen, has a story that's just as inspiring as it is unexpected. Born in Taiwan and raised on a farm, Sue learned the value of hard work at a young age. In 1984, she took a huge leap by moving to the US after getting married and starting a family. It wasn't long before she and her husband tried their hands at the upholstery business, beginning by redoing the seats in his 1968 Gran Torino right in their garage. Sue's talent was clear from the start. When the opportunity came to purchase a failing upholstery shop in Dallas, she grabbed it with both hands, investing just $4,500 to turn the struggling business into a thriving enterprise fueled by her skill, discipline, and passion. Sue's path to success wasn't glamorous. It was all grit and hustle. She began her business in a tiny 1,000-square-foot garage, but her vision was anything but small. With consistent effort, she soon expanded into the unit next door, doubling her workspace and capacity. As her business continued to grow, her reputation as a master upholsterer solidified. Eventually, she moved again, this time into a 2,000-square-foot garage across the street. But she didn't stop there. Her hard-earned success allowed her to purchase the entire building complex, a major milestone that transformed her shop into the powerhouse that is ASM Auto Upholstery today. The garage is now the heartbeat of her operations, and a proud symbol of what determination and decades of experience can accomplish. So how did Sue end up as one of the stars of Fast and Loud? That part of her story is equally serendipitous. When she moved into her new shop, fate and geography stepped in. Her building happened to be owned by none other than Richard Rawlings himself, who had his own business right nearby. Always scouting for skilled collaborators, Rawlings saw potential in Sue's sharp technique and straightforward personality. He approached her with a few trial jobs, eager to see what she could bring to his builds. Though the beginning of their working relationship had its bumps, the chemistry between them quickly turned into a successful partnership. Sue's sharp wit, unmatched skill, and no-holds-barred honesty made her an instant fan favorite. She became a fixture on the show, known not just for her ability to work miracles with interiors, but also for her humorous clashes with Richard and her steady handling of even the most difficult requests. Whether it was navigating Richard's constant demands or managing a tight deadline with grace, Sue became the kind of character fans couldn't help but root for. Someone whose journey mirrored the American dream, stitched together with patience, grit, and an eye for detail. Even though she was never officially on the payroll, Sue became one of the most unforgettable personalities on Fast and Loud. With her signature wit, she dubbed Richard's shop Ass Monkey Garage, a cheeky nickname that fans instantly loved. She didn't stop there either. Always ready with a quick jab, she would often tease Richard with lines like, "Why do you always bring me junk?" and "I have deals for everyone, except you, cheap-ass monkey." Her no-nonsense attitude, sharp humor, and undeniable talent made her a standout presence, even among the show's larger-than-life cast. As her screen time increased, so did the visibility of her business. Viewers appreciated her authenticity and began seeking her services, helping her upholstery shop gain significant momentum. Despite this boost, her relationship with Richard, whom she half-lovingly, half-mockingly called Monkey, was clearly strained at times. The on-screen tension between them became part of the show's appeal, but just as the chemistry seemed to be driving better ratings, Sue began fading from the spotlight. No official explanation was offered by Richard or the producers, leaving fans puzzled and sparking widespread speculation. Her disappearance happened right after a string of other major cast departures, only intensifying the mystery. Rumors swirled online, many of them focused on Richard's reputation for being difficult behind the scenes. Sue's absence hit especially hard for fans who saw her as a genuine craftsman, surrounded by increasingly scripted antics. One widely shared theory suggested a financial disagreement between Sue and Richard, which may have led to a falling out that couldn't be mended. Others suspected she was sidelined, given only rushed, minor assignments that didn't match her capabilities. These theories only gained traction when Sue herself addressed the topic in an interview. She noted, "I think since it's a reality show, you don't see what the craft is really about. We do a lot of different things that aren't on the show." She expressed a strong desire to get back to what she truly loved, restoring hot rods and running her business without distraction. Sue's frustrations with Fast and Loud ran deeper than what most fans ever got to see on screen. It wasn't just about how the show edited her work or the way her upholstery contributions were portrayed. It went beyond that. Behind the scenes, she was feeling the pressure of the production's relentless pace. One of the biggest sources of stress came from the impossibly tight deadlines she was expected to meet. These weren't just arbitrary time limits made for TV drama, they were very real, driven by auction schedules that couldn't be changed. As Sue explained, Richard's vehicles were often already booked to appear at major car auctions, so the turnaround times had to match those auction dates. That meant there was no wiggle room. In order to meet the deadlines, Sue had to pull several of her employees off their normal routines and throw them into high-pressure builds, often working late into the night just to get everything done in time. Trying to balance her own business while keeping up with the intense, fast-moving demands of the show created a non-stop juggling act. The workload could become overwhelming, stretching both her resources and her patience thin. It wasn't just one project here and there. This was a constant grind, tied to a schedule that cared more about selling cars than it did about the well-being of the people building them. That kind of environment can take a toll, even on someone as tough and experienced as Sue. Even after she stopped appearing regularly on Fast and Loud, Sue popped up again in Misfit Garage, the spin-off series that kept the Gas Monkey universe rolling. Her unexpected appearance set the internet buzzing, with fans jumping into Reddit threads and online forums to discuss what it might mean. Was she exploring a new direction in television? Had she moved on to a different project entirely? Some viewers started speculating that maybe Richard had simply chosen to work with a different upholsterer, maybe someone more affordable or someone he thought could offer a different style. But that theory didn't sit well with her loyal supporters. Many fans came to her defense, arguing that her craftsmanship was second to none and that her absence left a noticeable gap in the show's energy. Sue wasn't just another behind-the-scenes player. She brought personality, talent, and authenticity that couldn't easily be replaced. Still, the exact reasons behind her exit from Fast and Loud were never officially confirmed. To this day, fans are left piecing things together, pointing to a combination of factors. It seems likely that creative differences, the relentless pace of production, and an evolving atmosphere inside Gas Monkey Garage all contributed to her decision to step away. For someone like Sue, who built her career on quality work, attention to detail, and a real passion for her craft, those changing priorities may have clashed with her values. As the show moved closer to its final seasons, many longtime viewers began to notice something else. Gas Monkey Garage didn't quite look the same anymore. Instead of a gritty, hands-on workshop filled with sparks, sweat, and welding torches, it started to feel more like a high-end car showroom. There were fewer scenes of in-depth restoration work, and more focus on flashy finished vehicles ready to be sold. That shift in tone may have been exciting for some, but for fans who fell in love with the show's earlier emphasis on the actual building process, it was a sign that the spirit of the series was changing. For someone like Sue, that transformation may have been the final straw. She'd spent her life doing things the right way, by hand, with skill and care, so a move away from that kind of work might have made her feel out of place in a world that was becoming more about appearances and profit. No matter what went on behind the scenes, there's one thing nobody can deny. Fast and Loud left a massive mark on car culture. It didn't just give viewers cool cars and dramatic deadlines. It introduced millions of people to the world of custom car building and made Gas Monkey Garage a name everyone knew. For nearly 10 years, the show delivered big characters, unexpected twists, and unforgettable builds that had people talking long after the credits rolled. Even when criticism began creeping in and whispers of the show's decline picked up, it still managed to hold the spotlight, proving just how powerful its mix of entertainment and craftsmanship had become. So now, fans are left wondering, was the show's end just the result of fading viewership and behind-the-scenes disagreements? Or was there something deeper going on? Did the changes in vision, the creative roadblocks, and the pressures of fame push Richard Rawlings to finally walk away from the chaos? Whatever the answer, one thing's for sure. Fast and Loud wasn't just a show about cars. It was a wild ride that blended business, personality, and raw automotive passion in a way that won't be forgotten anytime soon.